Welcome to Connecting to Spirit with Stacy, a weekly journey into the spiritual world with evidential medium Stacy Niedenthal. With nearly 10 years of experience offering transformative private, group, and platform readings, Stacy is also a passionate mentor, guiding students for over 5 years to unlock their intuitive gifts. She is the author of 2 impactful books, My Head Knows, But My Heart Still Hurts, a 30-day grief recovery journal, and My Crystal Addiction Diary, an exploration of crystal and stone energy for healing. So please welcome the host of Connecting to Spirit, Stacy Niedenthal.
Hi, and welcome to Connecting to Spirit. I'm evidential medium Stacy Niedenthal, and this is Connecting to Spirit, where we talk about things that maybe you're not comfortable in talking to other people about, whether you're working on your awakening or whether you are just starting to walk on your spiritual path. This is a place where we have those conversations. And tonight I have a very special guest with me, Rose Claire, who I've known for a little while, but I guess we've probably known for about 2 years, but Rose has joined forces with me for a divine sacred empowerment circle that we host once a month. So, Rose, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, before we started, you're on the other side of the mountains now, or the other side of the ocean that you were
Yeah,
a couple days ago. But why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to talking.
sure. So I am an evidential medium, obviously a psychic because they go hand in hand. I'm also a tarot expert and an astrologer. And those have been things that have been in my life for many, many years. I was born a medium, literally going around the house and telling my parents, "Do you see that kid in the over there?" Then having very interesting reactions of patting me on the head and saying, "It's okay, just go back to bed or go out and play now. It's time." So, and I've worked in teaching and writing as well. So,
Okay. All right. We've got similar paths, but then two kind of different paths. But it's
mhm.
interesting how when the two of us connected, coming together with like a divine empowerment circle seemed like it was something that we both felt that was important because a lot of people don't know where to
Yes,
go,
yeah,
and I just
absolutely.
wanted to kind of talk about what we do because when you are on your spiritual path, when you are um beginning to open up to spirit, you don't realize that there's these other things that you might have to go through in order to get the door to open,
Yeah,
and when
absolutely.
when we first talked about it, like inviting healing,
hmm
you know
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We wanted to make sure that that was part of the equation because healing helps you move on to your spiritual growth. The more you heal, the more you grow.
right. Yeah, and when we were talking about, the healing, and then there's the community that comes together with it. It's
Yes.
always good. When I first opened up to spirit, I didn't really have the community behind me that I have now. I was still kind of working on that. I had one or two people, but I've learned how it is so important now to have other people that you can kind of say, "Has this ever happened to you?" Or, when I was
Yeah.
talking to a mutual friend of ours a couple of days ago, and I was like, "Oh my God, I thought I was schizophrenic," and he just kind of laughed and said, "I'm so glad you used that term because I thought I was schizophrenic when this was happening." But
Yeah, when
what
I
would you
grew
say?
up, sorry, when I
Go
grew
ahead.
up, I didn't even have a language for this. There was nothing around to even begin to help me understand or explain what was going on in my life. And, the ability to have a community, to feel and understand, and to know that you're not going crazy, because that is a common thing that happens.
Right? Right? I know
Yes.
I thought, I had a conversation with my doctor because I thought it was either dementia or Alzheimer's or schizophrenia because I was seeing and feeling and hearing, and I'm like, something's going on. And then, come to find out that the more I dug into my healing and the traumas that I had gone through, the more I got them out of the way, the more like the plumbing started working again, you know? So we've created this group so that we can have a group of like-minded people, or of people who may have a question about how to do this or how to do that. But it's teaching and talking about how to connect to your higher self. And I mean, I don't know
Mhm.
about you, but I've taken several classes and several courses about, all these different things. And it's never a one step fix. And
No.
it's never the same for everybody.
No, definitely
So
not.
when we created this, we have like these 12 themes of how
Mhm.
to connect to our higher self. So if you were going to talk to someone who was seeing, feeling, hearing stuff, or thinking about, I don't know why this has been happening to me for a long time, but I mean, how would you help them? Where would you set them?
Well, I think the first thing is exactly what you said a minute ago. You're not crazy. You're not crazy. These are very typical signs that you have ability that you aren't even aware of, and then working with them to kind of understand, because all of those abilities come in different ways and shapes and forms. And it's interesting too, anyone who's a writer or an artist or a musician, when they go in the zone, that's the same kind of energy.
Same thing.
It's just being channeled and used in a different direction. So coming to understand that and talking with someone about what are you experiencing and how are you experiencing, and take a breath, and it's okay. Those are all normal, natural things that you're experiencing right now, is how I would want to approach it with someone.
Right. Well, and talking to them about meditating and,
Sure.
connecting with your higher self. And
Mhm.
to me, when someone would say to me about, well, you need to meditate, you need to connect to your higher self, and I'm like, this is me. Like there's somebody about, what do you mean this is me? But I found that when I did start to meditate, all of a sudden I would see things or I would hear
Mhm.
things. And a lot of my students and my clients, I'm sure you have this too, say that they can't meditate. I can't slow
Yes,
the mind down. I don't know how to do that.
frequently. Mhm.
And I always say to them, well, can you take a shower every day? And they just kind of look at me like, what? Well, if you can take a shower every day, you can meditate in the shower with the water
Mhm.
going over you. You're visualizing, you're hearing and doing this. And that seems like that helps them to get on that track to meditating. So I know some of the times when I've meditated, some really weird, funky stuff has happened that I've seen. And I don't know if we want to continue to talk about the empowerment circle that we're doing, why somebody needs that, or if we want to talk about like unusual things that we've been through, but is really isn't unusual because all mediums and anybody who's on this path has had similar experiences. So, how you feeling about that?
I am game for either one. Let's go.
Your game. Let's go. All right. All right. So when you were first opening up to spirit, that's what I always call it. First coming out of the closet to
Mhm.
spirit, however you want to say it. Like, where were you at? I mean, I know this happened to you at a younger age.
Right.
I was older when it happened. But how did people respond to what you were saying?
Well, it's very interesting because what happened was I ended up moving to New York City in my 20s and just happened to meet a group of people who were working with kind of a spiritual mentor. And I went, and she happened to be a trance medium, who was bringing information in. And through circles with her, I started to understand what I was doing. I started to connect with spirit and started to learn how to work with spirit instead of spirit just happening to me all the time and not even really understanding. And as I said, there wasn't a language for it. When I was a
Right.
kid, I was, and for me, it was, in elementary school, I really didn't worry about it. But then as we get to middle school, you start to become really self-conscious and you're like, oh wow, nobody else does this, and you just want to hide and you pull the cover over. And that was me for a long time. So when this happened in my 20s, it just kind of things just kind of blew right open. And then the year or two later, after this, I was living in San Francisco. And in San Francisco, I continued this work, and I was also introduced to tarot. And one of the things I learned, and I've learned as I've gone along in this process, is when you work with other spiritual tools, they all impact each other. They all help
Yes.
all of your abilities grow. And consequently, my psychic ability and my mediumship started expanding and kind of developing along with my tarot. So all of that is how it kind of came about. And it just kind of continued to grow and grow and grow from there.
Right. Yeah, I when I first started doing readings, I swore I was never going to use cards. I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to use them. And but they were always interesting to me. And I would mess
Yeah.
around with them a little bit. I'm not going to use them. Then I thought, oh, I'll use one in a reading. Oh, I'll try. And now I got to tell you, I have so many different decks of energy and oracle cards and
Mhm.
angel cards, and they tell such a story when I use them that, when I lay out my grid or lay out, and I start to
Uh-huh.
talk about them and how the person is like, "Oh my God." Right? And I mean, you and I've had the conversation several times. I
Uh-huh.
have never gotten tarot. I am amazed by it. I know amazing tarot readers, but it just doesn't click with my little brain for some reason.
Right,
And I think
right.
maybe because now that I say that, I'm trying to use my brain instead of use my
Uh-huh.
intuition with that. With that. So tarot kind of opened things up for you even more. Is that what you're saying?
It did. It did. I think the kind of artistic aspect of it, because like you, I collect tarot cards, the decks of them, like people collect art. I'm like, oh, this is really wonderful. Look what this person's done. But when I read, regardless of what deck I use, I have my own process. And I think really when you start working in any of these disciplines that you and I are involved with spiritually, it is about kind of developing your own process with the cards, or working with certain astrological things, and or even mediumship, the symbols that we get from as mediums or psychics. Yeah, that all of those are part of a process.
Right, and I never really thought of it that way until you and I were just kind of like with the tarot cards, as you
Hmm.
and I were sitting here talking about it, because it's always been I just can't get it. I don't understand why I can't get it. Well, I'm not getting it because I'm not using my intuition for it. I'm trying to, oh, well, it's got to be in this position and here. So interesting. Oh my goodness. Well, isn't that fun that I just learned that little piece? So when you use tarot, we're going to talk about tarot a little
Hmm.
bit. So when
Sure.
you use tarot, is that more, that would be more psychic, I'm assuming, but can also be mediumistic as well,
It can. It goes in
correct?
both
Can you
directions.
explain
Yes.
that? Yes.
It is a connection. I connect to spirit, whether it's mediumship or psychic or tarot. Spirit is involved. But when you have a person in front of you, you're also having to connect with their energy as well. So it's a blending of all different types of energies to get to the result of whatever your purpose in the reading is. Sometimes it's just a general reading. Sometimes there's something very specific. Oftentimes, because of the way I connect, someone will come in mediumistically for them too. Because I've already opened that door, for them to come through and join us as part of this reading. So that's frequently what happens. So it kind of is a blend of a lot of different things. And I listen to the cards. The cards do the talking. They tell me the story that I need to know when I'm working with the person. And that's a really important piece. I think that a lot of good readers are more attuned with in that sense. So,
Right, right. Well, it's always so interesting to me, and on that note, we do need to take a little bit of a break. It was a good ending point there, but I'm so excited when we get back to talk a little bit more in depth to evidential medium Rose Claire. So if you are just tuning in, stay with us, and we will be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and TuneIn Radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Welcome back. I'm evidential medium Stacy Dienthal, and I've got my dear friend here, Rose Claire, that we're just kind of chit-chatting a little bit about tarot and about opening up to spirit and empowerment circles and embracing the light, let's call it. Where do we go from here? What can we do? So, when we talk about connecting to your higher self, when we talk about walking this spiritual journey, I mean, there's all different types of tools and things that you can do. But for me, I found meditation and prayer and journaling helped a lot. That was like my go-to. I would walk out of the bathroom after a shower and I would have a piece of paper and a pencil. And my husband would meet me in the hallway and he's like, Spirit. And I'm like, Spirit. And that's how it kind of first started for me. They would talk to me through my hands,
Mm-hmm.
when I would meditate. And then, like I said, with the cards and just getting started. So when you were working with tarot and when you were getting started, was it something similar for you as well?
It was. The cards just resonated with me. I never once looked at a guidebook. And I'll tell you a funny story about that in a minute, but I just immediately connected with the deck that I got. Just immediately connected with it. I looked at it. I mean, the colors, everything kind of just fit for me. And of course, this was several years ago. So over time, I've learned a lot more since then. Um, but the whole experience was one that was just connecting really right from the get-go. But then again, as I said, this became something for me that had been there that had no way to kind of channel and connect. So
Right, right. Yeah, it's amazing how all of a sudden you just connect with something. So what was the story you were going to tell us about?
oh the
Or did you
uh,
mean when we weren't on the air?
well, I was going to do it in private.
Okay. All right. Well, we don't have to, Rose Claire tells all.
That'll be the next one, right?
Yeah, so yeah, okay, so we'll just skip over that little thing then. We won't talk about that. So now you're also creating your own tarot deck. Am I right about that?
Yes. Yes, I have
Are
actually a
you writing a
student
book?
of mine. Yes,
Okay.
I've got a ebook that I've got a real length book and an ebook. I'm about halfway through the longer one. The ebook I have with a friend of mine who's a well-known editor, and she's playing around with that. That one is actually on taming Mercury retrograde. So handling that Mercury retrograde astrological 3 week
Mhm.
period that shows up 3 or 4 times a year, that I hope to have out before the next Mercury retrograde. The longer piece is, interestingly, a book called Conversation with Grief. And a it is semi autobiographical. My friend likes to call it creative nonfiction, for lack of a better
Mhm.
category. And it really deals with experiences that I had with grief, and really sitting down and talking with a personified grief about these experiences. And what happened and what triggered this is I had gone through a period in 10 years where I lost 11 close people to me. And it was such a
Wow.
revolving door of people passing that I never really was able to get closure and process, because one right after another, it was really a traumatic period. So, the idea it was given to me that I need to start writing about it, and it was supposed to be a therapeutic exercise. And then all of a sudden, it was one of those things that I was like, okay, this has legs. This is going somewhere.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it becomes a book. I find that my best therapy for me in any time is writing it down. I mean, I have
mhm.
so many journals, it's not even funny. And when you said it just kind of resonated with me that you had to have kind of a conversation with grief and just say,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
you said, what was it, 11 in 10 years, or a little bit more than one a year that you lost.
yeah.
So, and I know,
Close friends, family members, my dad, my mom. It was just, as I said, really, I did not have time to heal and process after each one. It was so, uh, like I said, really a revolving door.
right. And I know a lot of people feel or will say to me after I lose someone, oh, well, can't you just talk to them anytime you want? Well, I can. So can you. Doesn't mean they're going to talk
Absolutely.
back to me, you
Hmm.
know? So even though I view death a different way now, it's still death, it's still grief, and we still need to walk through it. And I found when my mom passed, that's when all of my abilities kind of opened up. So she was like my phone line to
Hmm.
the other side,
Yeah,
to
that's
open
cool.
that up. Yeah. So, when we're talking about, we'll jump around a little bit. So we were talking
Yeah,
about the
why not?
empowerment circle. Yeah, why not?
Hmm.
Hey, we were talking about the empowerment circle that we've created, and we've got a small group of women right now, women who want to connect with their higher self and strive to be better for their own soul, I'll say it that way, and
Yeah.
for the world around us. And I feel like, for me anyway, part of being on this spiritual path is to heal one person at a time in some form or some way,
Hmm.
is to help to do that. Um, and I mean, you just flew across the country and, healing, since you're a teacher, I'll just, put it that way. You know, I, gosh, teaching to me is one of the highest forms of healing, but one of those things that I don't necessarily think I could do.
It is very challenging at times. There's no question. I think But I think you are a teacher because I know, and I've heard from people who've taken classes with you, and I have co taught with you. I know
Mm.
you are a teacher at heart.
Of adults.
Yes, yes, it is a different animal working with kids,
Mhm.
but it's also really an interesting journey because it's fun to really witness with them. Coming from the spiritual perspective that I do, you can see that light in them. You can feel that light in them, and you can also feel when that light has been dimmed for external reasons, and you start to understand not just academically and not just from my master's training and all of that, but you understand spiritually, or I understand spiritually, why kids are moving in the track that they're moving in. And so it becomes, in my personal opinion, for the kind of kids I work with, I typically work with kids with special needs, to really have a rapport with them and become a person that they can connect with. And that will allow them, in the kind of ways that you and I connect with spirit that move us forward, having an adult in their life that they can connect with allows them to move forward.
Well, and just the energy and the vibration,
Hmm.
you know, in my normal everyday life, I could tell if the energy is off. But as a kid, I didn't know when the energy was off. I would just respond to the energy being
Yeah.
off. So I think that's another big thing with energies and vibrations and how you think and how you process things and, you know, responding instead of reacting. That's
Yeah.
something that
Yeah. And we
I
try to
always
teach
thought of.
kids. Yeah, we try to
You always
teach
want your
kids
doctor to right, you wanna try and teach kids that and to teach them, above all, you're a very special person
that.
and you
Yes.
need to teach other people the way you want to be
Hmm.
treated. And we've
Yeah.
lost that.
Yeah,
We've
it's very
lost that.
hard to embrace people for who they are. And it starts in childhood. There's all these things that a child is expected to be and do. And I will tell you from my own personal experience, part of that was impacting in my journey spiritually, because I'm supposed to be this, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to go to college, I'm supposed to do, all of that affected me spiritually and my own development, both in challenging and positive ways. So with kids, because they're open, we know that it's as we get older that it tends to close down unless we find the way to
Right.
reopen it again. Those kids are wide open from the beginning, and it's really fun to watch. And so it's so important to still allow them to be kids and not just keep piling on top of them all these other things, and telling them they're not doing this right or they're not doing that right. So then and truthfully, if I think about it, when we do work in our group, it's the same thing. We're reaffirming to those women that we're working with, hey, you are wonderful as you are. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have these abilities. In fact, it's a gift. And I think that's really important all the way
Right.
around.
Right. Yeah, if we meet people where they're at,
Hmm.
I have to come to where you are, or you have to come to where I am, so that we've
Yeah,
got this connection that we can grow on from that. So
absolutely.
many times we have teachers or students, whichever way that you want to say it, that are either so far ahead or so far behind that somebody gets lost in the mix. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's see where you're at right now. When I first was on my spiritual path, I had a very good friend of mine because there's schools here and there's schools there, and I mean I was all in. And she said to me, quite frankly, she was like, why would you be taught something that comes naturally to you? Why don't you see what you can learn on your own? And then when you need a mentor, one will appear. I'm like, huh, all right. And that's what I did, for like 8 years, 7 or 8 years, spirit taught me.
Hmm.
And I feel as if that was I don't know what the point I was going to make when we talk. Oh, I feel as if that was part of my childhood with spirit to help nurture me along. And why shouldn't we help nurture other people along and meet them where they're at when they come to us? So, does that make sense?
Absolutely. Oh, that
I,
makes perfect sense. Yes. Yes. Because
yeah,
everybody is where they're supposed to be. And
right.
by meeting them there, it allows them to open up. That's
Yeah.
par for the course. And it's the same with the kids I teach. I meet them where they're at.
Yeah. You gotta meet people where they're at. I mean, there's so much um patience or kindness or empathy when you're able to do that with someone. I
Mm.
mean, there's times I have lack of patience for a lot of things. Like, oh my God, let's just get it done. But I feel like that's where we truly need to be when we're on our spiritual journey. I need to meet spirit where spirit's at because they're going to meet me where I'm at.
And I
That's it.
think
I
for
know that
me
makes sense.
personally, and one of the
Mhm.
hardest things is that spirit time is often different than my time. you
Right?
know, I have to really breathe and say, okay, Rose, it will come when it's supposed to come. And I'm like, no, I want it now. I need to go here. I need to do this. Nope, that's not the path. And so I have to breathe. I have to meditate and kind of
Mhm.
reset. I mean, when I'm in that space.
Right. Right. And it's not always easy to do that because when we decide we're going to reset and meditate and think about things, it still seems like we're making a checklist on the things that we want to learn instead of saying, okay, I'm quiet now. Give me the checklist of things that you're going to give to me.
Yeah.
So many times I like tap my forehead and I'm like, shut up and listen. Just shut up and listen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope your audience is getting, hey, even those of us who are practitioners and have been for quite a while in this still have to deal with these things on occasion and work with the energy, whether it's meditating, whether it's writing, whether it's just kind of breathing for a while. We have to remember
Mhm.
those tools as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's a good time to take a quick break. If you guys have just joined us, stay tuned. You can always watch the replay on Spotify or Apple or YouTube channel, but we will be right back with my friend and evidential medium, Rose Claire.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hi, welcome back to Connecting to Spirit with Stacy. I've got my dear friend, evidential medium Rose Claire, here with me, and we've just been kind of having a conversation about a little bit of everything. We talked, about inviting healing in. We've talked about tarot cards. We've talked about, the empowerment group that we're working on, and I do want to talk about that a little bit more because that's what we were going to talk about. But I did want to just kind of touch base if someone was working on or felt like their spiritual path was starting to open or the light was starting to shine or however you want to look at it. There's so many stumbling blocks. There's so many things that get in our way. Fear, what other people will think. But I just wanted to kind of get your take on some of the things that maybe you stumbled over and how you overcame them and what your suggestions would be for anyone who is tripping up.
Well, I probably have hit all of those stumbling blocks and several more. Um, I think fear is a huge one. In fact, when I look at it, I think all of the stumbling blocks to some degree originate from some fear. Um, Fear of being wrong. That is a huge one in the work that we do. And we have a responsibility, an ethical responsibility when we're working with people, and we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to lead anybody astray. And one of the things that happened when I started working and doing readings with Tara, I had a young girl. She was beautiful. She was in her early 20s. She was a model, and she came to me in absolute tears, telling me she had seen a psychic that had told her she had a curse on her. She would never be successful unless she paid this woman $1,000 to get rid of the curse. And of course, I immediately said, no, 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 no.
Oh,
Yeah, no. Um, I think this also, illustrates the kind of things that we're up against, stumbling blocks that are out there from what other people think. Um, that is really a big one for me. And then the self doubt. I mean, this is one area in life where it really does push you to trust and have faith. I love your quote about the to combat fear is with your faith, basically, and that's so true
yep.
because that's what you need. But I would be. I would get up on a platform when I'm working, and I would stand there and I would go, "Okay, guys, you need to come in," and just keep
Right,
hoping
right.
and come on,
Y-
spirit. And then of course spirit showed up. So at this stage of the game, it's much better, but fear was a big one. Fear of that, I think fear of what people thought. um, I you know as we talked about earlier, are we going crazy? Is this real of what I'm doing? It's
Right.
kind of been who I am for a long time. um, I think for people who have the experience that you had, where it came up upon you later in life, I think that's got to be even more daunting, than me. I just kind of grew up that way. And apart from some, as I said, middle school, oops, I don't want to let anybody to know kind of stuff. But yeah, we have lots of stumbling blocks. I think also when we get into, you mentioned it earlier, also meditation. Meditation is really difficult for a lot of people. And just the whole concept of quieting the mind. So I think that's definitely a stumbling block. Um, I'm trying to think what else. What have you experienced? What were your stumbling blocks?
Well, I mean, a lot of mine were the same, the fear of getting up in front of someone and what if nobody comes to me,
Yeah.
you know? I'm up in front of, 40 people. What if this is that one time where no spirits here, but they always show up. They always
Yeah.
show up. You know, fear of what other people would think. I was
Mhm.
brought up in the church, so the way I was taught what I do is wrong. And then, now that I have a better understanding, I have not turned my back on Christ. I am still a child of God, but
Absolutely.
the way things are interpreted are led to the interpreter, I guess is the best way to say it. And I finally came to the realization, you know what? If I still have a relationship with God, it's no one else's business what my
Yeah.
relationship is, you know? So that was kind of a tough one for me for a long time. And I would kept thinking, am I being tricked? Am I being tricked? But my mind says because of what I was taught as a child, I was being tricked kind of then. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. But that's been was a big stumbling block for me and fear of what's going to come through, you know?
Yeah, I
Oh
think
my
there's a
God, what if
pull.
somebody tells me,
Yeah.
yeah, what if
Vulnerable,
somebody
the
comes
sense of
through and
being so
says this woman,
vulnerable.
yes. As long as I deal in love and light, and I know that's like the hippie thing, oh, love, light, kumbaya, but that's kind of where I look at it. I deal in love and light. I don't want to see negative. Don't you bring me
Right.
anything negative. I don't want it.
Right. Right.
And I've even worked with another woman in clearing a house. And
Mhm.
when we cleared the house, there were things that I saw that she didn't see, and there were things that she saw that I didn't see. And
Right.
she deals more with um, helping. Oh gosh, this is a whole different subject. Um, Helping those who need to go to the other side, who find
Yes.
themselves wandering. I don't want to say that they're stuck because I don't feel like they're stuck,
No.
but she helps disconnect them from this realm. I think that's a
Right.
good way to say it. So she sees that where I don't. And it was funny when we were walking through the house, she would say to me, "Do you see this?" And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Oh, that's my guy," you know, and she would know that that was for her to deal with. So that was a big stumbling block for me too, because when I bless a house or I clear a house for someone, I tell them if I come in and someone tells me to get out and something is thrown at me, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm out. I got somebody that can take care of that for you.
Yep.
I don't, mm-mm.
Yeah.
I talk to
Not
the
your thing.
dad, but I'm not going to talk to it's just my comfort level is better now than what it used to be because I was, you know, you could walk straight up to me and say boo and I would scream, or I'd be swinging. So that was a big stumbling block for me too, was my fear of the unknown,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? What
You know what? And I think for some people too, there's a fear of what's going to happen with their job, that kind of part of their life too. Um, I think some people worry about family and friend relationships too, that these all can be stumbling blocks to allowing yourself to connect. So,
yeah. Yeah, my father had no idea of what I did until he read my book. And then he came to me and told me that he had the church praying for me and I'm like, "Great.
yeah,
I'll take all the prayers you want to give me." Um So, and that was just kind of part of it. He'll find out when he needs to find out, and then, until then, he doesn't need to know.
right,
And I just kind of left it that way because it's nobody's business what I do or how I do it. But I know that if someone needs what I do, they will find me. And I'm sure that
right.
makes sense to you how I said that,
Makes perfect
you know.
sense. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe the people
So,
that we are supposed to help find us.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny, when I first opened up, I remember like putting that as my boundary. Only allow those people to come to me that I can help. Because I knew if I couldn't help them, my ego, however you want to say it, would be disappointed and I would not do it.
Right.
And since then, like my ego has kind of calmed down a little bit. It still pops up every once in a while. Um, but for the most part, I feel like if you set your vision, what you want to manifest, and set your boundaries up.
Hmm.
Here's what I hope to accomplish for the greater good, for the higher good of you and me. But only bring those people to me that I can help. And if I can't help them, allow me to know. I mean, I've said to a couple people, I'm not the medium for you,
Right. Yeah, me too.
you
Yeah.
know? Yep. So
I mean, it happens. So,
it does happen because people expect things that you can't deliver them. And not
mhm.
just like not everybody can't deliver, but we have specialties.
Yeah.
Like if somebody came to me
You're
for a
absolutely
tarot card
right.
reading, I couldn't get, I'd be like, I can do angel oracle but I can't do tarot. Well, why can't you do tarot? Because I don't understand it, but I've got some really good tarot card readers that I can give you their names, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. And I think that's a really interesting point right there. We all, in all of these disciplines, form a community, and we do have resources. And I'm not afraid to say to someone, you know what, I'm not the right person to help you with this, but I know many great people who are. And
Right.
that's, I think, another aspect of that ethical perspective that those of us who are very serious about what we're doing with this, that we share.
Yeah. Well, there's a love of spirit. There's a love and
Mhm.
respect for the people that are around us that have gone through grief or that have who so desperately want to make sure their loved one on the other side is okay.
Yeah,
And no matter how many times you say to them, I can assure you that they're okay, that's not going to work. They need
right.
to know, oh, your father's here. He had a heart attack. He had this.
Hmm.
And, you know, so when we get back, it's a good time to take a break. But when we get back, I just want to talk a little bit about embracing love and
Sure.
our divine sacred empowerment circle that we put together that is going to be in February. So hang
Yay.
with us, everybody, and I'll be right back with Rose.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and TuneIn Radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Hi, welcome back to Connecting to Spirit with Stacy. If you've just tuned in, you can always watch the replay on Apple Podcast or YouTube or other streaming medias. But I've been joined on this hour by evidential medium Rose Claire, and we've been talking about a little bit of everything. And we only have a couple minutes here until we're finished with our session. I'll put it that way. But Rose, I wanted to talk about the Divine Empowerment Circle that we've put together. And February 13th is our next session. And if anybody wants to join, you can go to connectingtospiritwithstacy.com and join that. But we're going to be talking about embracing love. So
Hmm.
Tell me why you feel that's important.
Well, I think one of the reasons it's so important is that what you and I do, and those of us in this profession do, is based on love. We couldn't do this if we were not loving of other people, loving of spirit. And, there are times that that gets tested. You get a client and you're like, okay, love
Ooh,
of God, come on, remind me, spirit, I'm coming from love. But that is the secret ingredient, the secret sauce, I think, to everything that we do when we come from that place. And so when we learn to embrace love, embracing self love, embracing love of others, it also becomes exponential. The more love you give, the more love you receive. It's wonderful.
yeah. Well, and I find that when I mentor students, the biggest hurdle is that self-love.
Yeah.
We're so good at being so self-critical in ourselves. And even when you and I were just talking about, the stumbling blocks, well, there's fear. Well, why do we have fear? Well, we have fear because we might make a mistake. Why what and it
Yeah.
all rolls back to a memory or something that happened in the past.
Sure.
And self-love is so difficult. And it now, sometimes it amazes me about that, but then other times I'm like, yeah, I get it, because I think to myself, oh my God, how stupid am I? Why did why did I do this? But that's that huge embrace that we have to be able to wake up within
Yeah.
ourselves and say, hey, you've got a special light in your eye there, sweetheart. Let it shine. You know, it's
Hmm.
it's allowing yourself to take care of yourself emotionally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, when you take care of yourself, when you love yourself, that love becomes contagious too. Other people
Mhm.
pick up on it as well.
Right? Right. Well, and it's hard sometimes because we all go through different traumas in our days,
Hmm.
you know? I had this client years ago that said to me her mantra in the morning was, "Today's gonna be the best day ever." And
I
no
love
matter
it.
what happened during the day, she would go, "Today's gonna be the best day ever." And she said somebody pull out in front of her and she'd go, he's not having a good day, but he's not gonna mess up my day. Today's gonna be the best day ever." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I kind of like inherited that as well. And then I think to myself, it's not a good day, but today is going to be the best day ever. But it's teaching the mind to love and care for yourself,
Yeah.
but also self-helping, because you can't just mm, walk over things. You know what I mean? You have to walk
Yeah,
through them,
you do.
and
Yeah.
that all has to do with the whole love thing as well.
Hmm.
Maybe somebody didn't treat you very well and taught you so and so, or to think this way about yourself. Learning to turn that off is so important, and finding that love within ourselves. And I did this exercise years ago where I was like, who am I? And I'm like, well, I'm wife, I'm mother, I'm daughter, I'm sister. No, who am I? Well, I'm coworker, I'm neighbor, I'm this. Yeah, but who am I? And I kept like drilling it down. And I
Hmm.
finally got to the point where I was like, oh my, I'm energy. Well, what is energy? Well, energy is comprised of love.
Yes.
So we're all energy and we're all love. So no matter what name you give me or what role I play, I'm
Yeah.
energetic love.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You
And
know?
as I said, that energy, projects. So that's the cool thing
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. Well, and you never know what your energy is going to do for someone else, you
Very
know?
true. We've all met
If
those
you're in
people where you walk
yeah.
into the room and you just automatically like that person. It's like, wow.
Mhm. Or the other way around. No, it's just, I just, I have just found that so much if I base things on love and on love aspect and try and show it and receive it and protect it. I have to protect
Mhm.
it too. That there's such a different feeling for myself and for the world around me.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does make each day great,
Yeah. Even on a bad day, is that
even on a bad day.
you can still find the goodness in it. And
Mhm.
it just doesn't have to be through a spiritual awakening for you to do readings or to read tarot cards, or it could just be your own spiritual awakening to find your way back to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, just a little bit of gratitude each day can change perspectives dramatically. Even I've had days where I wake up and I say, "Okay, I'm grateful I woke up and I'm breathing."
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah. Because it could go downhill real quick by the time my feet hit the floor.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
even the smallest pieces of things that we can be grateful for can help transcend that any of that negativity that we might be trying to that we're challenged with.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy how my thought process has changed so much in just the past couple years. And Rose, I so appreciate you coming on Connecting to Spirit with me here on Bold Brave Media and joining me in the divine empowerment circle that you and I co-host, co-teach,
Absolutely.
however you want to say it. Um, if anybody's interested in being a part of that, you can always go to my website or my social medias. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, Rose, how do they get in touch with you?
They can go to my website, roseclaire.net, and Claire is Claire. So very easy,
Okay.
roseclaire.net.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and just chit-chatting with me and talking about the woo-woo
Absolutely.
stuff. I appreciate it. And yeah,
I
I
love doing it with you,
I
my friend.
oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you again, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in tonight and watching Connecting to Spirit with Stacy with Rose Claire. Um, we are live on Bold Brave Media. You can watch the replay on YouTube. But we will see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. when I'll talk about I don't know what. You'll have to tune in to find out. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye bye. Thank you, Jody. Oh, Rose.
Thanks.
This has been Connecting to Spirit with Stacy. Tune in each week as Stacy delves into the journey of life, healing, and spiritual connection, inviting listeners to open their hearts, clear their minds, and create the life they love. Right here, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.